Hello there. This is the Leaders World brought to you by Leaders World Institute. It's your corner where we speak leadership and we speak to leaders across the globe on leadership issues. And the aim is to be able to bring transformation in your personal life, in your business, in communities around the world. And today we have, oh my goodness, you don't want to miss it. Go ahead and let somebody know that we are on. And today we have a very important topic to talk about: power of artificial intelligence, next frontier for Africa. You heard a lot about AI. I heard a lot about AI. I was like, you know what? How about we have a conversation on AI today? So that is why we are here. And the first person that we'll be seeing today is Dr. 𝗂𝗍𝗿, and he's a young business and productivity speaker, trainer, consultant, and entrepreneur, and the author of over a decade of an author with over a decade experience, and he has worked with individuals and corporate structures across 4 continents, 20 plus countries, including the USA, UK, UAE, and South Africa, Kenya, Rwanda, and many others. He uses his expertise and refined skills to empower his audiences and clients with practical solutions and tools. And that's the person we are about to meet to speak with us, share his thoughts on the power of artificial intelligence, next frontier for Africa. And it's a question we are asking today, and would like to see your comments in the chat as well. He is the CEO of 𝗳𝗄𝗄𝗹 Group Limited, which is a service-based business with 17 employees and subsidiary operations in financial services, corporate training and consulting, skills training and recruitment, services, technology, investment. I know you want to meet him. I know you want to meet him, right? He is the CEO of 𝗳𝗄𝗄𝗹, and he is also the president and the executive president and founder for the Center for Entrepreneurship, Leadership, and Business Management Development in Africa. Dr. 𝗂𝗍𝗿 is an expert in his field, and he is here with us today to speak on the power of artificial intelligence. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome Dr. 𝗂𝗍𝗿, who is with us here in the studio. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much for having me. It's good to be on the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We are so excited that you were able to make it. We know your schedule is tight. We know you are busy, and you were able to say yes to us. And we are like, yes. Thank you so much for being here. And with us as well, we have Rafa Ayuk. He is a seasoned Senior Product Manager and Chief Technology Officer at 𝗁𝗄𝑑esign, an innovative platform that's dedicated to reshaping the digital landscape, and with over six years in entrepreneurship space and a focus on venture fundraising for African startups. Rafa's expertise is both deep and wide-ranging. He's going to be sharing his thoughts with us on the power of artificial intelligence. An entrepreneur from the young age of 16, he has demonstrated a track record of success, scaled a business to a remarkable 20,000 MRR, and successfully raised over 5 million in financing for various business and nonprofit endeavors. His footprint in the global and digital landscape has been felt, spanning USA, France, and multiple African countries. Throughout his career, he has played instrumental roles with Leaders World Institute, the University of South Florida, and several Africa/US-based startups. As the founder and CTO of 𝗁𝗄𝑑esign, he is at the forefront of driving technology innovation and bringing visionary ideas to life. Today, he is here with us for no other reason than to talk with us on the power of artificial intelligence, next frontier for Africa. With us, ladies and gentlemen, please join us. Welcome, Mr. Ayuk Rafa.
Hello, everyone. Thank you.
Welcome, sir. Welcome, sir. Power of artificial intelligence. I have been hearing a lot about this thing. I have tried to do some research on my own, but I know that there are people who master these things better, and we need them. We need to hear from them. We need them to tell us. Listen, share this, okay? Let your friends know that this conversation is going on, and let us know the questions that you have in the comments. With us as well is Mr. 𝗂𝗂𝗵𝗂, and he is a Cameroonian entrepreneur, author, and journalist. Over the past 5 years, he has built a combined following of 77,000 plus entrepreneurs as Cameroon's leading internet entrepreneur who has been featured on BBC, British Council, Fox, NBC, and CBS. He grew famous for his work on social media and for building a community for entrepreneurs and career persons across Africa, where he constantly shares his journey. 𝗂𝗂𝗵𝗂 has a popular story for dropping out of the university and moving from an inconsistent $9 feeding allowance to starting 𝗂𝗂𝗵𝗂 Media, which is an online business he began during the moments of a deep political crisis in his student room using a phone, a laptop his elder brother had gifted him. There is so much more we can talk about this personality we have with us here. He has earned several awards and achievements with the British Council and other global leadership organizations, even at the Oxford University, Michigan State University. He's been keynote speaker at the 𝗲𝗃 Symposium in Switzerland. Ladies and gentlemen, there is so much more we could talk about, but I know you're like, can we just meet him? Yes, you can. So please join me. Welcome to the show today, Mr. 𝗂𝗂𝗵𝗂. You are welcome, sir.
Yay.
Yes, yes, yes.
Hello, Leaders World, and hello, Mommy Suzanne. Thank you for having me today.
Are you going to let everybody know how old I am now? Really?
I knew you were going to say that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm so excited to have you guys. And this panel was carefully chosen. This panel was sincerely carefully chosen because we believe in the promise of the future. And we know that the youth are the promise of the future. Today we are talking power of artificial intelligence, next frontier for Africa. So that already tells us that our focus is going to be around Africa in this conversation. And as before we delve into some deeper things, what's all these buzz and AI and stuff? Is it something that has existed for a long time, or is it just some of us are just getting to know it now? And what it is all about? Let's start with you, Mr. 𝗂𝗂𝗵𝗂.
Right. So the simplest way that I could explain this, well, for those who don't maybe have a general idea of it. So in the early maybe 70s, there was what we call the Industrial Revolution, right? And so with the Industrial Revolution, which started, what was the Industrial Revolution? It was simply, let's say that if there was a brewery industry or a brewery company, and let's say they were corking bottles, and maybe my grandfather was there at the time to cork bottles. And during the Industrial Revolution, what happens is people discovered better ways of corking bottles by using machines, not necessarily humans, which means that if my grandfather, Barry, at the time could cork, let's say 10 bottles in 1 minute, maybe the innovators found a way to use a machine that could cork at least 50 bottles in 1 minute. Okay. And so what happened is, hypothetically, by the way, so what happened is they decided to take Barry away from the job and said, look, you can only cork 10 bottles in 1 minute. Why not use these machines that can cork the bottle, right? And that way, my grandfather loses his job. And that was the start of the Industrial Revolution, where instead, work that was done by human beings was gradually being replaced by machines. And so fast forward right now to when people talk about artificial intelligence, the easiest way that I explain it is right now, artificial intelligence has always been available. For example, it has always been available. If you use your phone, if you're typing on your phone and you have the auto captions, that's artificial intelligence. If you visit a website and maybe later on you go browsing on another app and then you start seeing ads popping up, that's artificial intelligence. You have Siri on your phone, that's artificial intelligence. But what happens right now, it is the period where more and more resources have been put and many more softwares, right, have been developed in multiple industries. And so it is
Wow.
that one point where a lot of it is hitting, from the human resource industry to marketing to graphic designs to whatever you can think about. And that's what we call AI revolution. So it has been there since time
Right.
immemorial. The only difference is that right now it is just gradually evolving into different industries. And that, my friends, is what we call artificial intelligence. It was there before, but right now it has just come and tapped into every other sector.
Wow, wow, wow. So looking at Africa especially, how would you assess, Mr. Rafa, how would you assess the current state of artificial intelligence and adoption and development in African countries? How would you assess that looking at the current state?
So the way I would look at Africa, I think in terms of technology in general, there's a lot of room for growth. Artificial intelligence is the next step. It is, even for Western, environments, still very new. A lot of this isn't. A lot of the technologies, even popular large language models like ChatGPT that most of us know, are not available for use in Cameroon, for example, and many other African countries. So to have any sort of large-scale adoption for artificial intelligence, will need to first have that technology be accessible in these countries. And there are many other bits of nuances that kind of make the conversation around artificial intelligence per se, at least the way that we've come to know it here in the United States and most of the Western world, to be available for use in African nations.
That's something I never knew, that ChatGPT wasn't available in African countries. Oh
in Cameroon specifically.
In Cameroon specifically. Okay, in Cameroon specifically. Oh, I never knew that. I never knew that. So is it that the infrastructure, Mr. Bate, is it that the infrastructure is not there to accommodate that? Or why do you think it's limited at this time?
I try to understand this from the perspective of the creators, and I try to understand it from the perspective of a Cameroonian. From the perspective of the creators, when you're creating anything, you are also looking at the market that is really there for the product, right? And so if I create something, the first thing in my mind is, what's the market for this? And so I'm looking at the bigger countries where they have a higher number of people using the internet. They have a higher number of people who are constantly browsing and are able to access this feature. So some way, technically, I might understand why this hasn't reached Cameroon, considering that we have a population of about 22 million right now. And from that 22 million, you wouldn't say up to half of the people are constantly using the internet and can be able to pump these organizations with a good market and economy. However, from a Cameroonian perspective, I think that's just a little unfair. We have an industry that is growing. We have people like 𝗁𝗿. We have a lot of people who are getting access to the internet, who are raising our voice. And I kind of see it from two perspectives. I'm in the middle, because I look at it from the business side. As a business person, I want to reach out to the market, but also from a Cameroonian side, I'm like, we need this available in Cameroon. However, I wrote to the customer service hoping that my one voice makes a difference or something. I just wrote and say, hey, we need this in Cameroon, or we
well,
have.
now that you know, all the Africans in the diaspora, verify, do you have ChatGPT in your countries? If you don't have it, can we all add this one, add our voices to this one voice, so we have many voices? Yeah, so they can know we also know about it, and we want to use it, and we believe that it's going to do the global good if we also get involved. And let's come to Dr. 𝗁𝗿. Tell us about what you think would be some of the great opportunities that we might be open to as a continent, as an African continent, with the use of artificial intelligence, Doctor.
Anything that can ease processes, anything that can ease efficiency, enable you to create value faster, it will always play a big in the economy. And when you look at the African continent and you look at the 2063 agenda by the African Union, one of the major things they're looking at is economic sustainability. And I always like to say that Africa was late when it comes to industrialization, and we cannot be late when it comes to AI. And it's a tool. And like every other tool, if you are going to achieve anything in business, apart from acquiring the right skills, you need to understand what are the core equipments and tools that I need to use efficiently in order to do what I have to do. So if Africa is going to move forward, there are a lot of gifted guys across Africa. There are a lot of incredible people across Africa. However, when they don't have access to the right tools and equipments that can enable them to create this value, package this value, and deliver this value, it hinders them from competing globally. You see, so with AI, for example, not starting in some countries across Africa, automatically shut a couple of key players out of the marketplace from playing the same like their counterparts. So you see, I always say that if a young person in the United States needs 3 months to build something, an average African needs 3 years to build the same thing. Because that demarcation that we have is contributing a lot. So if we get to have the same access to resources and do more, we can be able to have that real-time capacity to contribute at the same level that they are doing. And the funny thing is, immediately you get your phone and go on the internet, you are no longer competing with your village people. You are competing with everybody else across the globe, because they are plugged on the same platform, and you guys are competing. But you are coming from a disadvantaged background because of the limitations that you have as a person. So it is something that whoever needs to play a role for this for us to have the right access at the right time, everybody needs to be on board. And I'm happy that Ariel was able to take his political mind and write to the customer service why this was not in Cameroon when we started. So yeah, it's something critical, and we need to look at it.
Right.
I happen to be an advisory board member of the Blockchain Association in Cameroon, and there's some discussions that we are taking to the government and to the various ministries that, look, I don't know what you guys are going to do, but you need to play a part when it comes to policy and governance, so that we are not cut out from these kind of innovations that we need to be part of, so we can contribute and create things that can benefit the country and the continent.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that elaborate contribution. That is an eye opener to just help us to see that this is not something we are going to run away from. Like, we are all in it, and we need to be in it. And Mr. Rafa, I'm looking at what could be some potential maybe risk factors as far as Africa as a continent, with AI intelligence, and do we stand any risks, or is all what we are we like just going to gain by having it, or do we stand any potential risk factors with the adoption of AI in our industries?
I think the general risk factors for AI adoption in Africa or on the African continent would be generally the same as AI adoption in the rest of the world. But the issue with just how far, with the issue with just how far behind Africa is with the type of technology, it's at a point where if it was available, it would be far more beneficial than it would be harmful, at least at this point in time. And then as it begins to evolve, as the technologies accelerate, as that data even becomes more available, then some of those risks could start showing up. But as of this moment, if it was available, there is the upside to it makes the risk worth it, or almost insignificant, if I could even say that.
And what are some of those upsides that you are mentioning? What are some of those upsides to the use of it for the continent?
Well, the way I look at it, artificial intelligence as we know it is more or less a byproduct. The possibility for artificial intelligence to exist is the data that it is modeled after. It's the data that it's built on. Without the availability or the access, of that data, there's nothing to build the models on. But as of this point in time, if all that data is made available, it's made accessible to. Can you guys hear me?
Oh.
Yes.
Or am I okay now?
It was all of us being disconnected for a while, and you were saying something really important. Can you say it all over again, please, about like the upsides?
Oh, yeah. So I was saying that I think artificial intelligence as we know it is a byproduct. And what is it a byproduct of? It's a byproduct of the massive amounts of information that's being collected on people on every day. That information is used to train these AI models that's now being served as another product that people can use and consume and interact with. But based on the amount of data and the information that these models are built on, if those are introduced to African markets, African startups, African businesses, it really would help them be able to accelerate their businesses. If a lot of the products that even I use on a day-to-day basis have now introduced some AI element to it, right? AI writers, AI this, AI, data, interpretation or manipulation here and there. But if these businesses, especially African startups and African businesses that are tech-enabled, are given access to these large language models, or even have the skills or ability to create these models based on data that they have on their own businesses, I think I know it would be a game changer for their businesses.
All right. Wow. So you talked about building businesses and based off of these large amounts of data from AI and all of that. And I'm thinking, Mr. Ari, what are some industries that would largely gain from the adoption of AI into those industries in Africa? Any ideas?
So first off, I think that every industry has the potential of gaining from AI, right? Okay. Take, for example, ChatGPT. I literally just had an AI summit where I gathered some friends and kind of went over some of technical AI tools and how they could use them. And I said to them, look, for example, with ChatGPT, I said, look, you could take a script and write from ChatGPT. Hey, ChatGPT, I need you to write me a script on how to be fearless in the times of adversity. And you take that same script, you take it into, let's say, a video platform like InVideo or whatever, another AI tool. I will not bore you with all the details. But the bottom line of what I'm trying to say is that all of these details or all of these different functionalities, ChatGPT could be used for literally anything. I even showed them there was a time we literally wrote lyrics for a song in less than 30 seconds in the voice of Tupac. That's ChatGPT helping an artist to create something. We literally wrote a contract agreement like a lawyer. That's ChatGPT helping a lawyer. We literally wrote an AI copy in the voice of an experienced copywriter. There's something within ChatGPT you could kind of, I call it like an invoking. So if I want to write something, for example, Robert Kiyosaki, it's a very good writer, and I want to write something, and I'm like, hey, AI, can you write me a script on this in the voice of Robert Kiyosaki? Because AI has indexed the writing style of Robert Kiyosaki, they're literally going to produce me a script writing in his voice, in his tone. If I want to write a speech like Obama, because he's a very good talker or it's a very good public speaker, I will. If I want to replicate 𝗫𝗿, I will. That's the all-powerful effect. So every industry can benefit from it. And just like Raphael said, I kind of think of AI from, it's just like relationships, right? Sometimes you get into a relationship with multiple people. 𝗫𝗿 is the married person, I know. It's okay, but let me talk about marriage now. Sometimes you get into a relationship with people, you're not literally looking, not everyone is perfect, but you're looking for the person whom you can accommodate. And it's the same like a car. When you buy a car, the same car that will transport you from A to B is the same car you can use to have an accident. And so every aspect of AI, it has its downsides. But that instead brings the question of we need to know how to use the AI, because if you don't know how to use it, how do you even know the fake? You can't even start to say, okay, let's say that AI was used to scam you at some point, which will happen. But how do you even know that this was created by AI? How do you even know that this is real if you are not interacting with it and you are not kind of up to date with what is happening? So those are some ways we could use AI for different businesses. But I would say, in my experience, especially applying that to my business, I could streamline that to 3 words. It's helped me to save time, to multiply effort, and to stay ahead of the curve. And in different things that we're doing, for example, there are other tools. Literally, usually when I have meetings, I would try to write down notes, and I'm struggling. How do I take notes of this person, what this person is saying? Right now, I use 𝗿𝗲𝗃, which is a tool. As I'm speaking now, it writes down everything for me. And at the end of the meeting, I have my notes all set. If I want to take this very interview we're doing right now, I want to transcribe that and use that for my emails or something that I said that's so inspirational, I'll use 𝗿𝗲𝗃 and I translate this. I recorded a video, and in the video, I was kind of sharing, a nugget, and I was like, okay, let's use this for my email, please. And I just sent my assistant. I'm like, hey, use 𝗿𝗲𝗃, transcribe this into words, and I need you to just rewrite it in my voice or just edit it so that it has our flair. And it literally took less than 30 minutes. And so every industry, the bottom line of what I'm trying to say in a nutshell is every industry can benefit from AI, from an artist, to a bricklayer, to a cook. Ask ChatGPT how to cook eru. I literally asked it and it told me. So every industry.
No, you're not serious. You're not serious.
Go check it out.
How did he get eru?
That's it. That was
the surprising
thing. I said cook eru, and it gave me, it literally wrote through. You can use water leaf. Yeah, water leaf. I'm like, that's it. That's it.
The possibilities of AI.
Wow.
So there's just a lot, and I think every industry can benefit from it in one way or the other.
Wow, time saving, efficiency, productivity. I'm looking at Dr. 𝗂𝗏 in your business as an entrepreneur, as a trainer, as a speaker, a consultant. Have you had to interface with some of these tools? And like, what are your thoughts about helping that kind of line of business?
Yeah, I mean, we have used AI. We have recommended different AI tools to different business institutions, and we have seen a lot more being done by these institutions, more than they used to do in the past. And it is something that, some people get to be afraid that AI will take away jobs, but I prefer to agree with the philosophy that people who know how to use AI will take away the jobs of people who don't know how to use AI. And that is what will be happening. So AI is the same like money. Money is a tool, use it. AI is a tool, use it, right? So, and we work very hard to see, especially across the African continent. And sometimes that is the little blessing of COVID-19, in quote, blessing in quote, because COVID-19 pushed businesses and institutions to adopt technology faster than it was supposed to be. Research actually proves that if not of COVID-19, there are certain things that some companies are doing across Africa and they should have started doing it by 2025. But COVID-19 came and put them under pressure to adopt many of these things.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the same with AI or what is happening. So what we are working on is encouraging our clients to start thinking, what can you do as far as AI is concerned? What can you automate? What can you improve? What is slowing you down, and how can AI help you to do that? And that becomes important. And just to circle back to what Rafa said, he mentioned something very important about data, and which is one of the biggest challenges we are facing when talking about AI in Africa, because AI depends on data. And one of the biggest challenges that data is showing forth in terms of AI is data fragmentation. Africa is heavily fragmented when it comes to data, where data is stored in different places and not being kept together, or what you can call data interoperability, where data is stored in different systems. For example, I will take two primary examples. Microfinance sectors in Africa, you see a microfinance having 10 branches, and all these 10 branches have independent data centers in their various. So it makes it difficult, to make good use of AI. Or you, back in Cameroon, you see our government schools. If there are 1,000 government schools, none of them is linked to one central server anywhere where you can get inside and get certain data for students. So this kind of fragmentation is negatively affecting how much we can use as far as AI is concerned. But again, these are some infrastructures and some key points that the big brothers up there in government need to start thinking about to make sure that they are creating the policies and the platforms that can make this happen. If not, we will keep pushing in the private sector, oh, do this with AI, do this with technology. But at some point, we will always hit the ceiling. We will always face that challenge on helping our clients to make the highest use, maximum use of these amazing technologies that different creators have created for the marketplace. So we are promoting it, but more can be done when you begin to compare what counterparts in other countries are doing, what we can do back home. There's a big gap.
There's a big gap, right? Thank you so much for sharing that, Mr. Rafa. We know that startups and entrepreneurs, they often drive innovations, and I'm just wondering, like we have been looking at this whole AI adoption and AI revolution thing, and we are agreeing that there is a lot of work to do in terms of catching up with the rest of the world in most parts of the African continent. I don't know, did I say it right? That most parts? I did not do the research.
Well, if I may
in-depth research.
Yeah, most parts is right. Most part is right, because
Okay.
if you look at Southern Africa, they look at Northern Africa, they have basic electricity, for example, plays a big role in this basic power, and of course internet stability. So Northern Africa, Morocco, Egypt, these guys up there, and then southern part, South Africa mainly, they have gone a bit further than us in sub-Saharan Africa.
So most parts.
Most
parts. So, but what are some of the systems that could be put in place to encourage the adoption of the use of artificial intelligence in our systems, in our industries? Is it policies? Is it infrastructure? Like what could be done? I'm looking at, do we have a solution? Do we even have a way out? Do we have possibilities that are at our doorsteps that we could start with? Like they say, the journey of 1,000 miles begin with the step. Do we have any step we can take in the right direction? I'm going to actually take this question through to Mr. Rafa and then Mr. Are and Dr. 𝗁𝗿 as well, because, hey, I don't have the answers, sincerely. And we just think that your combined thoughts are going to help us gain a lot of light, Mr. Rafa.
That's a big ask, honestly, to solve the technology issue for most African countries. And for personally, I can speak mostly for Western Africa and a lot of Francophone Africa. It would have to begin with getting support from governments. Funny enough, and another thing about the way that a lot of African startups or African organizations use technology is that there are very few entirely software-based startups on the African continent. A lot of these companies are tech-enabled, which means they operate on some sort of hybrid model where, yes, they have the software. Say they're, I don't know, a telecommunications company. Yes, they have, their software aspects of it, but they have stores everywhere. They have merchants everywhere. They have individual, more or less brokers of their service or their software. So that's one thing, but also it would really have to begin from the top, right? Getting the governments to kind of have a forward-thinking mindset when it comes to technology. And a lot of these African countries are making progress towards that. But it would really need to. I'm trying not to. Anyway, it would it would really there needs to be an active support from governments that understand the importance of these technologies, that wants to help these industries thrive and move forward, and be able to empower businesses and people who are looking to make change and make advancements on the African continent in these countries. So really from top down. Now, when it comes to actual practical implementation, I think a lot of the philosophy behind how data and technology is used is fragmented, like Dr. 𝗖𝗿 was saying. There isn't a lot of forward thinkingness when it comes to technology on the African continent. So a mindset change within, entrepreneurs and people who are starting businesses is critical. A lot of times, people looking to start businesses on the African continent and in Francophone Africa and even sub-Saharan Africa, they are looking to build for their immediate communities, which is fine. You can drive adoption that way to begin. But again, something Dr. 𝗖𝗿 said, as soon as you get on the internet, you're not competing with your village people, right? You're competing with the rest of the world. And that global scale mindset is something that is really lacking in a lot of entrepreneurs in Africa. They're thinking about building for their immediate communities, but there are a lot of startups that when they started, they scaled rapidly because they had that mindset of not just in my city, not just in my state, not just in my country, but throughout the entire continent and even throughout the world. We want this product to be used. We want this service to be used. So, yeah.
I'm still on my big ask, like Rafa calls it, the big ask. What's the way forward? Is there any little space that we could put our foot in the door for this expansion? Dr. 𝗖𝗿, maybe.
Yeah, with all the challenges, I only see possibilities, both for the private sector and the government. And if governments are serious, let me start from there, just to continue from where Rafa ended. If the governments are serious that they want to turn their economies to be more competitive and more productive, then this is thinking about. I have had the privilege to travel and work, stay at least more than 1 week in at least 15 African countries. And in more than 80% of these countries, I have had power for 2 hours. Now, for 2 hours, somebody can write a complete book.
You had power for 2 hours, or power was off for 2 hours?
Power off was off for 2 hours, like within a period, power was off for 2 hours. And in this time right now, somebody can write a complete book for 2 hours with ChatGPT, right? So now imagine waiting for 2 hours for power while somebody's very productive in another continent. So that takes us back to the foundational things that government needs to do. I've had the previous talk with a couple of ministers, and I say, look, there's no amount of money you can give to a young person that will satisfy a young person. But if you give us the ecosystem, we'll make all the money we want. And he was laughing. I said, give us electricity, give us good roads, make sure that we have good ports around the internet, and see what we will do. So the government needs to step up. And that is the sad thing. It gets frustrating when many of those things only them can do. A large corporate private sector company cannot even do. It becomes very frustrating, and with their bureaucracy and politics and here and there, it becomes slow. But we need to keep on advocating and talking about this until it is done. Now, back to the people, especially to institutions. I had the privilege to talk to some private sector university owners a few weeks ago in Cameroon, and I said, if you are running a marketing department in this 2023 and you have not added courses or models on how to create videos that can go viral on TikTok and YouTube and social media platforms, you are not training young people right as far as marketing is concerned. I said,
right.
if you run a banking and finance department or faculty and you don't have a fintech course or blockchain technology course or cryptocurrency, whatever, you are not preparing them right for the marketplace. And I said, if you are not thinking of how you can lay the foundation in all departments on how young people can start thinking of how they can use their ideas and relate to AI, you are not preparing them right for the marketplace. So what am I trying to say? For institutions are the infrastructures that will prepare the human capital for this new revolution that is happening, because very few people have access to online platforms where they can learn these things on their own. And our people are not very proactive and have that growth mindset where they can, take steps ahead to begin to learn certain key things. However, we understand traditional institutions and we respect them. So if universities and higher educational platforms, why not churches, Bible schools, whatever, as long as it's a place where you can teach people, we need to start thinking of these things. How can we incorporate these things and use those platforms to open the minds of the people, let them begin to see and understand and how they can leverage on these things to do more. And if we begin to do this, the one good thing is it can start opening up some holes for pressure, because when more citizens have access to certain things or start talking about it, the government also hears and listens, and it can prompt them on. Because sometimes the government thinks in terms of taxes. So maybe if we do this more, we are going to make more money through taxes if they create more businesses in this area. You see, so all of these areas play a big role. And again, as I said, there are opportunities. I mean, somebody like Array was already making money from AI Summit. So universities can start making money from AI master classes, AI short courses, whatever that they can do. But it's not just about making money, that they are creating incredible impact, because through their platforms and initiatives, people are opening up their minds and learning new things. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You talked about the fact that we need to keep talking about it. We need to keep advocating and talking until it's done, because the more we talk about it, the greater the possibility that our voices are going to be heard. And you talked about education that's aligned for the future, education that's properly aligned for the future, so that even if we don't have what it takes, like we don't have all of it right now, at least we are preparing for the opportunities so that when they come, we are fully ready to seize them. Mr. Bate.
So I think 𝗁𝗏 and Rafa have already spoken much about the policy and government side. They will know those things better than I do. I will take it from an individual approach. And what I would say is there is the advent of AI right now. And sometimes if you ask, let's start from the individual perspective. How many people can tell me that they can actually know, or that they know the top 3 AI tools in their industries and can use them? Right.
Are you in my mind or something? The next question I was coming to is, what are the AI must-have tools? So just go ahead.
So that's the Holy Spirit speaking. So I kind of look at it from that aspect, because just like 𝗁𝗏 said, when we start with the individual, it's very, very possible for us to be able to influence policy. Because if the government sees that many more people are using these tools, many more people are engaging with AI, they start to think, oh, how do we add this into the curriculum in education? Oh, how do we add this into policy? Oh, how do we allow local governments to start to implement this? How do we even add this to road signs, police departments, and all of that? But how many people right now at this stage, at this boarding stage, how many people can say they know the top 3 tools for AI in their industries? It's interesting, because there's 𝗁𝗏 talked about the AI summit. There's this friend who attended the summit, And at the end of it, she literally sent me a message just this week, and she said she's so grateful because she attended the summit and literally had the opportunity to write an article for a Vatican magazine. And she was asking herself, oh my God, how do I rush into this? How do I produce an article? She remembered that I taught something on that. She went back to the videos and wrote the article. And 2 weeks later, her article has been published in one of the biggest magazines for the Catholic Church in the entire world. And she's like, wow. I'm like, yes, those are instances. So if we start to use and explore AI individually, you see that it brings a general movement from different aspects.
Mr. ฎa଼tě, so that I don't lose this thought.
Okay.
How do we reconcile that with plagiarism? You know, using those tools, how do we reconcile that with the fact that there is something called plagiarism?
Right. So the first thing is when you use, for example, ChatGPT, which is the most popular one, whenever you prompt, it gives you the content, whatever content you want, right? First and foremost, that content, it's not yet, at least by policy right now, it's not yet considered as plagiarism. And the very interesting thing about a tool like ChatGPT is that when you prompt, even if someone else prompts the same question from another part of the world, it provides something else, something different. So at every point, even if you prompt right now, and after 5 minutes, prompt the same, prompt is, for those who don't understand, prompt is literally asking questions. If you ask a ChatGPT a question and after 5 minutes you ask the same question, it will give you 2 different answers. So first, that kind of in a way eliminates plagiarism. However, my thing is always when you use ChatGPT, tools like ChatGPT, it is very important to have the human touch on anything that passes through AI, especially right now. So when I use it to write articles, when I use it to write emails, I want to make sure that my voice is still strong within my writing, right? And so I make sure, okay, my team goes over it or I go over it because I like to have my voice and my personal touch in it. And first, that helps with all of the plagiarism.
So it's like researching on Google and getting what you need, but then using it, putting your voice in it and acknowledging that, okay, I researched, you know, and giving credit to where you have to give credit, you know, and stuff like that. Okay.
So when you use these tools, you're simply having those thoughts, because sometimes it's interesting. Sometimes you would ask it a question and it will produce the most, I dare you, it will produce the most, like, some things that I didn't think about. I'm like, how did this think about this? Like, how did it use this word here? And that way I can fine tune it. I can write it in a better way. I can go through, I can edit that, and I start to use that. So back to the initial questions, I think for us to start to harness and retain artificial intelligence, it starts with the individual. So for those watching this right now, I need you to go right now on Google and simply search top 3 AI tools for example, marketing, top 3 AI tools. How can you sign up for those tools and start to play around? Everything I've taught, literally, even at the course, I created a course, like an 8-day course on artificial intelligence. I didn't attend any class. I just searched things myself, started playing around tools. And I was like, okay, let me play around this one. Let me use this. Let me use this. And later on, I started incorporating that. As a journalist, I write for 𝗫𝗀𝗻CIO. We're serving over 70 million people monthly. I create content and I incorporate AI into my digital tools. And right now, at least it's taking 20% off the work that I used to do. If I have interviews like this, I could literally, initially we'll have interviews. And then after the interviews, you go back, you start transcribing and you're writing what the person was saying. Right now, I use the tools. I use a tool. It literally just dictates and writes down everything that I've said. And I go through and I just kind of put my personal touch into it.
Can you just tell us those tools?
It's called 𝗿̈ة. 𝗿𝗲𝗃𝗃.
We are all here. Let's benefit now. Hey guys, do you agree with me? Put in the chat. Say it. So you can say it, right?
Yeah.
Now let's go.
So it's called 𝗿̈ة. For the friends that literally attended like the AI summit, I literally gave an entire PDF of about 60+ AI tools for different industries. But I think what the tool I'm talking about is 𝗿̈ة, 𝗿𝗏𝗃. You can check that. You can use that for your virtual meetings, take down notes, and it's super simple. Like you could transcribe even a video, anything. There are a bunch of those tools. ChatGPT is there. There's InVideo. There is Midjourney. Literally. Also, I literally for the AI event that I was doing, I decided and said I won't record a video. So I went to Midjourney and I created an avatar for myself. Then I went to InVideo and I said, look, let me put that avatar into InVideo. Then I went to ChatGPT. I wrote a script with ChatGPT and it was just 100 words. And I gave it that script and I said, read it out. We used that video run at literally generated hundreds of thousands in CFA, and I didn't have to sit down and record myself and say, hey, I'm organizing this. And that was it. Like, that was a way of leveraging AI. But back to the point, I think that individually, if we start to maximize or if we start to explore these tools, it creates a general impact. The government starts to see, oh, the country is interested in it. It's just like social media. Social media wasn't a thing in Cameroon about 10 years ago. But when youth started to use it, especially going back to the Anglophone crisis, and when it began to uproar, the government now thought about it. Oh, we have to start creating government pages and updating them. We have to start putting press releases on the internet. We have to start using the social media as our propaganda tool, if it has to be that way. We have to even create factions. And I would say it right now, I dare to say it right now. The government has arms that literally check every other thing on social media without we knowing it. They do, because they recognize the power of social media right now. And so I think that when we start individually, it creates a collective action. And just like 𝗫𝗿 and Rafa have talked on the policy side, I think that that helps anyone out there to start exploring.
This is so instructive, and this is such a beautiful conversation. And I'm thinking about deepfakes. I'm thinking about deepfakes and what's up with that, and is there any way around this? What should we be watching out for? What are deepfakes, by the way, Rafa?
Deepfakes are, well, generally, deepfakes are caricatures of person's likeliness. That's the way that I would put it. They are generally, they show up as images or videos. The technology has gotten infinitely better by leaps and bounds over the past year or two. It's really gotten very good.
Is there anything we should be concerned about? Is that anything we should be concerned about, Dr. 𝗫𝗿?
Yeah, anything that is fake, we should be concerned about it. Fake content.
And how can we watch out? How can we know the real? Did you say fake prophets? Did you have to bring prophets in this? Did you really? So how can we watch out against these and just not be vulnerable to these things?
I spoke slightly about this, which is, to me, the foundation of it all. Personal education. Personal education. You cannot, the only way you can discover what is fake is if you know the original.
Thank you.
So if you don't know how the original looks like, you will always fall for the fake, you see. So the more people are educated and they are aware of these platforms and technology at large, it will be easier for them to discover, oh, this is fake. Nobody needs to tell you, you see. So, and it goes into, let's take it to the basic cyber security. Many people do not know how to set passwords. They don't know how to just keep their email secure or their laptop secure, or mobile phone secure, even their financial apps. As basic as those things are, many people are ignorant of those things. And it is the same ignorance that they are going to carry over and over and over to more serious things. And they will start experiencing deep fakes and fake content and fake people here and there, and they will not be able to distinguish which one is right and which one is wrong. For people to be able to, because you cannot go around the world and begin to deliver people from from what do I call this now? From the desire to create fake things and make money from it. We will keep on experiencing deep fake even at the highest political level. They will keep on trying and doing their job and trying to make more money. But our job, the more people are aware and they know the original and what is good and what is not good, it's going to minimize a lot of the negative impact of deep fake.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think the risk to deep fakes doesn't particularly apply to outside of through social media. It doesn't particularly apply to the African continent.
Yeah.
But in the Western world, especially in the United States, which I would have more context on than others, even at the political levels, as we in past and present and future political news cycles, as this technology is advancing, it's going to be weaponized. I could confidently say that it's going to be weaponized against political opponents, making it basically slandering them for whatever purpose. And what concerns me a lot about deep fakes and I guess it's part of the downsides or the drawbacks of this kind of technology within Western and more technologically advanced cultures is with everything good, there's a bad that tends to come along with it. And deepfakes have had applications within online scams, people being swindled out of their money. You could fake someone's voice, you could fake their likeliness, you could fake a lot of things. And there have been applications where this is used even, to create or fake content that would not show someone in a particularly flattering light. So there are a lot of concerns that I personally have around deepfakes, and I think there's also now the conversation of how this technology should be regulated, and that's another big ask, even for Western cultures and the Western world. But yeah, that's a huge concern in terms of artificial.
Mr. Bate, we are talking about deepfakes, and Rafa mentioned about even in the Western world there is concerns about how these can be regulated. What are your thoughts on this whole situation?
I think I would not add anything more apart from what 𝗁𝗍𝗿 said. It's very important for you to familiarize yourself with the tools as well. Because let's say, for example, if we put that into context, you receive a video call from someone claiming to be Ray, and you do understand that with AI tools, well, when deep fakes are made, maybe the squinting of the eye is different. Okay, there is a different way. There is the eye squints. There is a different way that the mouth moves, and all of those little things. You could originally just spot and okay, this is not this is not the real Ray. This is not how it works, or maybe the image is blurry, or maybe there's a different kind of, they're just technical things. But how do you know if you have not at least been interacting with those tools, or at least been in the sphere, understanding what's happening? So in the most practical way, get yourself out there, start to explore tools, start to talk, start to interact with them. And that way, when something happens, you are aware of what's happening, and at least you could take necessary measures and save yourself the stress, because either ways, you're going to pay. That's a trick. You're either going to pay with your time, or you're going to pay for the mistake of not researching to know about it now that it's still budding. So it's
wow. Thank you so much for coming. We've had with us Mr. Ari, the founder of Aribi Media. We've had with us the CTO for Co-Design, Rafa Ayuk, and Dr. 𝗁𝗍𝗿, who is a business trainer, consultant, and entrepreneur. And we've been talking about the power of artificial intelligence, and we've been asking a question: is that the next frontier for Africa? And we deliberately chose the panel for youths because we believe in the future of the continent, and there are things that we know that youths easily get their hands on, and which some of us still struggle with. And I'm sure you have noticed that from their articulation of these conversations, that they are well versed with what we've been talking about. We are at the close of our conversation. If you have a question, put it in the comments. You can rest assured these special guests will get your questions and they'll answer them. We're going to also put their websites in the comments, and you can check those so that you can link up with them and find more resources for them and get some more help with them as well. We are at the end of our conversation. This is not my favorite time of the show because then I get to let everybody go. But guess what? We can do this again another time, by God's grace, of course. Dr. Joybird, what would you say to our audiences? There are people that are going to watch this just because they saw Dr. Joybird on the show. And we've been talking about the power of artificial intelligence. What would you tell them?
Many a times when people hear people talk about technology, they get to feel that it is for those who are the smartest and who are good at mathematics and physics and chemistry and all of these numbers here and there. However, somebody said that the illiterate of the 21st century is the one that cannot unlearn, relearn, and learn new things. So no matter where you are, no matter what you do, whatever you're building, whatever career you're doing, one of your major goals should be, how do I connect this to the internet? And you can do that with zero experience of what the internet is about and what technology is about. But if you have the willingness that you can learn, and that's why the most powerful skill that you can develop is the skill of reskilling and upskilling. So these smart people have shared incredible deep insight about what AI is all about, and you'll be thinking, so where do I start from? Start by researching that simple question that Ari gave. What are the top 3 AI tools in my industry? Go to their website, see what they're about, read, take down some notes, and go try out those websites. That's how it starts, and before you know it, you're good to go. But by all means, don't be left behind, because whether I like it or not, when you're in one place, your industry will outgrow you. Cheers.
Let's go to Mr. Rafa. There are people who are going to watch this just because they saw you on the show. They want to get your wisdom. They want to get the ideas that you have to share on the subject of AI and Africa, whether AI is like the next frontier for Africa. Like, what would be your final words at this moment?
I think, and the people who would see this and recognize and want to watch it, because there are people who live on the African continent, so I would be speaking specifically to them. There's the shiny object syndrome, and for some people would argue that artificial intelligence, at least the way that it's marketed, is a shiny object. I being a rather technical person myself, I look at, what are these models being built on, which is the data that it's being built on. I think the more personalization that you can get, the more you can integrate your data with these large language models, that's where you'll find the maximum amount of benefit. So I would say within your specific organizations, make sure that you do the best that you can to consolidate your data. Make sure it's easily accessible, it's well documented, and be willing to try whichever technologies are available in the countries that you are. Familiarize yourself with it. There are a lot of resources online. Array is doing a lot of, is on the forefront of training and getting people acquainted with these tools. Reach out to him, in all these other technologies, but it's really making sure that your organizations remain at the cutting edge of whatever technology is available for your industries, and just make sure that you're keeping your ears to the ground and staying grounded in strong technical principles that will keep will keep your organization together and allow you to scale beyond your city, beyond your state, beyond your country, beyond your continent, and to the world.
Thank you very much, Mr. 𝗂𝗏, the founder of RB Media. What would be your final words? There are people that would definitely come to watch this just because they saw you on the flyer. They want to listen to you, to hear your take on these things. What would you say to them at this time as your final words?
My people who watch this know, first of all, that I don't know how to speak big grammar, but I'm very practical and I like to get people's hands dirty with the work. And so just like 𝗁𝗏𝗋 said, I think the very first place to start, now this is very important for anyone who is watching this, you're always going to see reels, top 10 AI tools, most recent AI tool to try this on this tool. And I would say to you, not all of those AI tools are for you. In this internet industry right now, you have to practice, there's something I call selective retention, meaning that I won't learn what I'm not ready to learn. I will specifically go for the things that are very important and very niche down to my industry. Because when you go out there, there's a pool of, I think the biggest problem we have right now is not that there's not knowledge, but there's a lot of knowledge and we don't know how to practice selective retention and filter what is very necessary for our growth. And so, like I said, go out there. What are the top three tools for X and X industry, marketing industry? And I want you to practically write down those top 3 tools and go and start to just create an account and play around them. When I started learning about AI, I literally did not know anything, but from gathering the tools to using them for my business, to teaching people, to incorporating that into my brand, that helped me to know more, because even the process of teaching helped me to be like, oh, okay, this is something new. I could teach here. I could do all of this. And so the first thing is you focus on your lane and the specific industry. The second thing that I would say, and I heard Gary Vee say this, and I thought this was very important to note. And he said that what I see right now in this age is that the commodity is being disrupted, but someone has to come up with the ideas, right? And these people, write this down for anyone that's listening, are called prompt engineers. Prompt engineers are the people that are going to carry the day, at least I would say. And these are very important skills to start looking at. Who are prompt engineers? Prompt engineers are simply people that will cause AI to give you the relevant information that you need. For example, if you are going to write something about 𝗂𝗏𝗋, someone needs to sit down there and confirm that this information that ChatGPT has given you is relevant to who 𝗂𝗏𝗋 is. So when you're prompting, when you're asking questions, and so the most important skill that I would say that people who are living here should go and start, like I said, someone has to prompt the AI to write a post about 𝗂𝗏𝗋 and compare it to the truth, and so that it becomes relevant to 𝗂𝗏𝗋. So ideas and creativity have gone to the bottom, and the commodity of the execution are probably going to the top, right? And so which means that for you right now watching this, if you want to learn basic skills, I would say 2 most important skills right now: learn how to ask better questions and learn how to think creatively. That's going to help you to at least get your way around. Ask better questions, how to think creatively, and most importantly, go out there, find courses, find things that are very important for your growth. Again, you want to make sure that you're niching down to what's just important to you. And I would say conclusively, the interesting thing about these tools is that when you know how to use one, you can easily use the second, because the interfaces are very similar. If you can use ChatGPT, you literally just get in and prompt inside of Midjourney. If you can use Midjourney, you literally just go into InVideo and try to create something, and it's just a continuous effort. And when you start to get your hands dirty with the work, you'd realize that gradually you know what works for your industry. And let's say that right now you are a career person and your boss walks up one day into the room and say, hey, we're going to start using this new tool. And as a business person, I can tell you, as a business person, I have 2 options for my team. It's either you're going to learn to do the work, or it sounds harsh, but we have to get someone who can do the work, right? And 2 things are going to happen. It's either you have to upskill, or I have to selfishly look for someone who is going to use that tool and bring me results to my business. Because as much as I care about you, I care about humanity. I truly do, but I care about the business as well. Right? I care about that we grow. So if you are in the business right now, if you are a career person, you're an entrepreneur, go search out these tools and start to relate with them. And most especially, like 𝗁𝗏𝗋 said, start to upskill and at least learn something and write them down, I would say. But it's been an interesting conversation, and I want to thank you, 𝗁𝗏𝗋, as well, and Rafa, because I think that you guys threw more light on different perspectives. You're very political and government policy people that I do appreciate. I don't have a lot of the government and policy ideas, but it was very good to bounce off these ideas. And to the married man, congratulations, 𝗁𝗏𝗋.
Well, congratulations, 𝗁𝗏𝗋, once again. And yes, Ari, I know that you're making arrangements, and the dowry money, you're gathering it already. We all know that. I did not make an announcement. I did not make an announcement. So that's the situation. Thank you so much, Rafa. It's been very, very inspiring and instructive. I will come back and watch these so I can learn some more from those tools. And listen, remember, you have to be selective. Know what you need and go for what you need. But you might need to play around with a couple of things, okay? You might need to play around a little bit to know exactly where you have to focus based on what your industry is. But AI has come to stay. It is getting to be adopted in more and more industries. And listen, it's me talking, right? It's not going to replace humans because we'll always have our place. But guess what? It's going to work in favor for those who know how to work it. Okay, so it's not something we are running away from. It's something we are embracing, and we are looking into how can we use this for our personal businesses, for our corporations, and for entire nations. So AI has come to stay. Next frontier for Africa, you answer the question. Let us know what you think in the comments, and we'll see you next time.
For your corporate and personal needs.
𝗲𝗔 World Institute. Changing lives, one leader